So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on our session of threat landscape and application security. Hope you had a great lunch. And for those who do not know Radware or myself, I'm Olivier Deves. I'm responsible for Radware within the Benelux, and this for 9 years. And Radware is an Israeli company, cybersecurity company in the core, which, currently we have our work also back in Israel with conflict. I will walk you through actually what we see from our perspective, what the latest trends are, and also what can be done about it. So also if you have a question in the meanwhile, don't hesitate, don't be shy. So what we see is actually since 2021, there has been quite a change. So we do remember very well, we came out of COVID that made actually everyone to go work more from home, have a remote desktop, remote work, and the companies had to make that transformation so quickly that a lot of, let's say, security measurements were not taken properly because of the speed of integration that it needed to be done. So the digitalization at that time went much quicker than anticipated. So it also created kind of problems. And so applications that needed to be accessed from home, and a lot of people are going from home, and it also opened some doors, and that's also where certain security concerns came up. 2022, the invasion of Ukraine, that also unlocked a lot. And there's one year which is not mentioned here, it's 2020. In 2020, it's a public reference. We had a customer called Zelensky, which is actually paying us a visit yesterday here in Brussels. It is also a client which, because we protect that infrastructure in Ukraine, I do not have to tell you that we've seen everything. So everything which is tried out of the Russias and all of that, all these attacks, we could see it. And we've seen that an hacktivism has been increased a lot. And even if you get attacked here in Belgium or whatever, and you say, oh, I identified it's a Russian hacker or whatever, you can call Interpol and you can ask them to arrest that. In Russia, you don't get arrested. It's as long as you don't touch the infrastructures of Russia, they leave you alone. They even give you a medal. And in 2023, there's also other conflicts that come up. Since the 7th of October, we see also the Hamas-Israeli conflict coming up. Also there, again, new techniques have been developed actually to attack, to overwhelm, to use other types of attack. I'm going to show you a couple of them also in a minute, like what is the impact. AI, well, I have to use the term AI because everybody's using it, but it's also coming up, and also that new agents are being developed. So when you look at the two major groups, let's say, on the one hand you have the activists that are politically inclined, others that are financially motivated. You got also some that just want to make a point. Just like, hey, I want to show that I can hack someone. That's also, but on the other hand, you also have the religious groups. So remember maybe that also in Sweden, somebody burned the Quran just in public, and actually the whole country got attacked. So by some groups. So sometimes it's a disguise, sometimes religious, but usually it's financial gain behind it. The no-name and the killnet are the two groups that are the most known. Those are the ones that usually do attack as well. And both have different motivations. But what we've seen in the last years is that all these groups have become also having subgroups specializing. And now what we've seen in the conflicts together with Hamas and Ukraine is that they start actually to collaborate with each other. So they really are like an organized army, as it were, and they share information to be like, if you want to take down this one, well, this is the way how you to do it. I'll show you also certain things that are not just on the darknet, but it's also now on the internet. And what we've seen is that the threat landscape is changing. I don't know if you know, but the DDoS attack is not new. The first DOS attack was about 50 years ago. A denial, a distributed DOS attack is about 25 years old. And we see that now new techniques are being used new attacks, new vectors, and there's a growth, an immense growth in it. We have new regulations coming up. We know the GDPRs, we know the NIS2 that's taking effect very soon, and there's other regulations actually to just make sure that we get more protected. And when you go to a company and that says, I want to move my applications that are old on-premise, I want to put them in a public cloud. Oh, for me, ideally, I'm putting everything in Amazon, or I'm putting everything in Azure. At the end, a lot of companies end up with having some applications on-premise, some in Azure, some in Google, and you get a multi-cloud environment. A multi-cloud environment gives more exposure. It also gives more to maintain, more to support different systems. And as a hacker or an attacker, you also know keeping up everything is not easy. So they really will literally assess your situation, and they will find some vulnerabilities. And when you look at it, there is even one of these groups like Killnet even does a financial gain system. If you find a loophole, if you find somewhere, they will pay you. I would not recommend to do it legally, but we see that that is something which is happening. And a lot of people are joining, even mom and pops, basically. You start seeing that trying to find a little loophole. And when you look at the fourth threat as well, is that cybersecurity. So if you're all here active in cybersecurity, the jobs are secure. Because there's a lack, there's about 3 million job postings for the moment on a global level. So there is no worries about that. But it also shows that as an organization, if you get attacked, do you have the skills? Do you have the proper people on board? And on the other hand, if you have them, how often do you have to mitigate that sort of attack? So keeping up just with the latest trends is an expensive and difficult exercise. So these are just a couple of numbers. For those who want to have a detailed report, you can just download it. We show actually the exact numbers also for Europe, what's happening per vertical, and what is happening. This is just a snapshot, but it shows that it's not getting away. Every year we see an increase in different type of attacks. And as you see also the 171%, well, of course, also the threat also goes where the vulnerabilities and the assets are. So they will move from infrastructure to more and more to applications. They move up the stack, whereas before they would just attack the layer 3, 4, you overwhelm it, it is done. Now you see that they more move to the applications because we go more to the public clouds and everything, and they will attack more in that aspect. And they will use different techniques. So they will use bots, they will use other types to attack it. So here's a couple of examples, and the reason why I'm taking some of these examples, there's 2 slides about examples, is at the first, when you look at the names only. So you see the Washington Post, you see the Reuters, you see Outlook, you see major ChatGPT that is an outage. These are not small organizations. They also show that even Microsoft was being hit, even Google was hit at a certain moment. And you see that all these companies that have resources and have a good security in place, you still see that they are breached. And when we go more local to maybe our environment, this is one that I wanted to show, and maybe one stress about the third one is Luxembourg. This happened just in March, end of March. Again, it was the following of Zelensky that visited Luxembourg, and as a result, there was a massive DDoS attack. So there were several government entities that were completely out. So we see that they are, again, these groups, they are motivated, they are politically motivated to attack. And what they do more and more, they even will use Telegram to say what they're going to do. They just say, hello, Luxembourg, we're going to attack you. And then they just do it. Now, I do must say, out of 5 claims, usually only once they will do it. Because there are some that also say, when I have done an attack successfully, it comes in the headlines, it comes in the newspapers, and then suddenly they will use that vague of interest to say we are going to attack other infrastructures just to infuse some fear and to really make a bigger name for themselves. But here there's a couple of them that you see also again. Amazon Global also got attacked. We could say we are not immune to it. And so in our analysts, they've seen what does it cost actually a DDoS attack on average. Of course, we serve enterprise companies. We don't serve the small little companies, but enterprise companies in general, when they suffer from a DDoS attack, it's about $360,000 per hour. So if somebody is out for a couple of hours, it costs quite some money. And we see that there's a lot of motivation behind, and we see that sometimes attacks are just done to take down a certain competitor. Slowing down services, there are all kinds of techniques. And this is based in 2023. And what you also see is that the number of attacks that they feel, at 31% they say like, we get it on a regular base. When you see that. 60% experience it on a monthly base. So you see that most companies, and is it because they are a target? Not necessarily. Sometimes you're just a target to be like a test field. Like I had a company like a couple of years ago, and they said, I don't understand why I get attacked. I'm selling vacuum cleaners. And the reason behind it was actually someone who was just testing out some bots that he programmed to see like, what's the effect on it? Oh, that's an easy target, I'm going to try it. And he's going to improve it, and then he gets it ready. It's one of the bots that he puts ready. So sometimes you as a company, you have nothing to do with a security threat, but you just get attacked because why? Well, you're an easy test field, I can play with you. And just see, and I'm going to use that and improve that to somewhere else. And so these tools that are available, they become, before we always were on the darknet. You had to have a Tor browser, you have to go in the darknet, you have to have certain credentials in the darknet and to get access to tools. These days, you just go on the internet. You want a good DDoS? Go on the internet, and they will even give you Q&A. They will even give you service level agreements. And they will tell you what is successful in which environment. And this is just available on the internet. And one of these moments, maybe you heard from it, but sometimes you see that in the news, DDoSia is one of these tools that is used by Killnet, which they're a whole service. If you want to be educated, there's free university. To educate yourself, how can I be successful in attacking? And here are just a couple of them that you show. And when you look at it, why would you do it? Well, in the first, there's for a lot, they got a lot of recruits because it's financially interesting. Again, when I said, when you are in a country and you start looking for vulnerabilities outside from a target, state-sponsored, and when you find something and you get like $100,000 bonus from it in a country that makes 300 euros a month in salary, you can imagine that there's a lot of people that are going to try to find something. And so here we see that there is at first also over this. On the other hand, the DDoS attacks are made so simple that I don't have it here in a slide, but they would use games. So a game like, as an example, to support Ukraine. Support Ukraine, a nice little game. When you play it, and who of us all is going to read all these cookies instructions that you agree on everything? So like, oh yeah, boom, and you game. But in the meanwhile, your device, if it is a phone or a computer, whatever it is being used to target a specific website. So by gaming, you are attacking. And not only that, and if you game a lot and you're good at it, you get bonuses. So you see, that's the whole mindset. And of course, we are here in the IT environment, we are aware of that, but how many people do know that? If I ask our children, oh, they will download the game, play it, oh nice. Hey Dad, I have helped Ukraine. and actually you use that to attack. And when you look at the scripts, and if you don't know how to do it, no worries, there's help. They will tell you if you want to bypass certain security installations or whatever, they will help you use this script. This is already pre-made. If you use that, you will bypass it. So it's made very easy. Today, you don't, with these tools, you do not have to be an expert to attack anymore. They will help you. They will just say, do this, use that script, do it like that. If it doesn't work, we'll pay you back. This is the world that today we are living in. And so one of these attacks, and this is the most effective one. The first reason why usually attackers go after something is to get your identity, because with an identity they can do a lot. This is an attack where they use your identity. So they have a pool of legitimate IP addresses, they have a pool of legitimate sites, they have a pool of legitimate content, and they make it in a certain way that is randomizing that, and then they launch the attack. What is the beauty of it? A DDoS attack is very simple. It's like 20,000 people suddenly standing here at the door, or that's a DDoS attack. But when it's like small boxes that get in and then suddenly it goes out a lot, that is something different. So what I want to say with that is that these type of attacks, they are viewed like legitimate. They go to the first perimeters. They go through it because it's encrypted. You go through it, and behind it goes through a firewall, and it says, I'm an official IP address, I got good content, I have a legitimate request, and all of that. So what does it do? It lets it through, because it doesn't know it better. And then at the end, your application server is saying like, okay, you're welcome in, and he opens up, and instead of having several requests, there's like 10,000 or 20,000 requests per second. And the bandwidth that was shot at your organization is maybe 50 megabit. So meaning that because of all these requests per second, that CPU of your server in the backend, he overloads, explodes. And that is the attack that we see. You remember that it was also in the news 2 years ago, Belnet, that got attacked was similar. The European Parliament was saying, we're going to do something for the Uyghur, we're against it. And because they connect the European Parliament behind, it's all in the news, out of 27 countries, they attacked to one point, and they used these things, and they exploded actually the CPUs. That's what they use also in the Hamas-Israel conflicts. This is also what they used for the first time in the Ukraine-Russia war. This is one of these types that they use. They will combine it with attacks on DNS to overload it, because they also know a classic DDoS. Simple. Close the door. Done. Finished. But that's what they will use in different ways. And all these tools, they are ready on the internet. So what is it in a summary? It's like an ultra high request per second. It's encrypted. It looks like, it appears like legitimate, and it uses evasion techniques. Because these days, CAPTCHA and so on, that's not enough. These smart bots, they go even beyond. And if you would ask yourself, like, how comes that there are so many legitimate IP addresses? Well, there's like, for example, one. We have coffee machines that connect to the internet, refrigerators, washing machines, whatever. But if you think about people that say, I'm going to secure my house, I'm going to go to the shop, I'm going to buy myself cameras, an alarm system, and these cameras, I can steer it with my phone, I can see in every room what's happening, I can even turn out the light and on and with all of that. Most people, they install it, they don't change the password. And then there's a bot that goes around that knows about 30 to 40 vendors, the standard password login. It sniffs within 2 minutes, and it gets you. If you didn't change it, legitimate IP address, one more for the pool. That's so easy. That's the Bricker bot. And so the traditional DDoS is not enough. You really need to go further beyond of all of that, because you can have also think about like in the public clouds, or you put your applications in the clouds and you want to collaborate with other companies. You have a web shop and you connect to a bank that's an API. All of these are vulnerabilities that are being exposed. So also there, you can have a good security for yourself. Doesn't mean that the third party has the same level. And so that can also be exploited. And so how to stay ahead? I just have one slide about this. This is what Radware does in a nutshell. So we do whatever applications, assets that you have, in which cloud that you are, on-premise, old, new, is it mobile or not, doesn't matter for us, we are agnostic. And all these type of attacks that you have around, there's a lot of terms that you hear. So I spoke about the tsunami, there's also the carpet bombing, there's web attacks, WAF attacks, DDoS, all of that. We all do that in one system, because all these threats, you really want to correlate all the information to make sure that you have a consistent and a very intelligent mitigation system. So what we do is also, like as Radware, of course, we also, these are the differentiators that we do, that yes, we do use AI technology, we use a lot of big data, we have integrated platforms, and we have it, we can also correlate that into one big security service. And so the reason why I'm saying is that we can see also the internet. Of course, when something happens in the US, there's a campaign on a bank or whatever. We know that. So we have deception pods worldwide on a global level. All this information is fused. It's all to enrich actually our knowledge and understanding what is going on. And then our mitigation system is based on a learning system. So meaning it is not like signature based, it is not rate limiting, it's none of that. We actually go to a very deep learning, so to make sure that we differentiate what is good traffic and bad traffic. And so that's how we also can provide the highest SLAs. And this is just a view. So for those who know Amazon quite well, we use the Amazon network as well as a CDN. We natively integrate, and we have then also our own scrubbing centers worldwide. The slide needs to be updated because we just opened also Paris for the Olympics and the WAF. So this is the capability, and you might say 12 terabit, hey, that's not so much, but this is 12 terabit attack capability. So because when you use a CDN, you can say, oh, I got terabits. But this is literally like the type of attacks that we can counter. So with this, I will just one closing quote that I stole from someone quite known. A clever person solves a problem, a wise one, he avoids it. But what we need for ourselves to stay protected, actually we need both. As well to be clever as to be wise. So with this, I want to say thank you. If there's any questions, please do.